going this time.
Excuse me. Talk about tired.
And I'll tell you guys when we're live.
Okay.
Okay, it's working, so we should be live.
Okay.
All right.
I'll just text Dana and let her know where.
Yeah, that when she comes on that we're broadcasting.
That we're live.
Okay.
Jen, when does Paul, when is Paul's the chair's newsletter like set to go?
I'm hoping I can have it ready by Friday. It's usually like around the mid-month.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my chore to work on tomorrow after this
Okay.
meeting.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dana. All right.
Nope.
All right. I think we have a quorum now.
We do.
All right. All right. So I'd like to call the Amity Board of Education Communications Committee meeting to order at 5:38 p.m. The first item on our agenda is the approval of our minutes from September 10th.
I just need one motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm trying to do notes on the other screen. So, Okay. Ah. Okay. Sorry, this is not as easy as it should be. Okay, all of those who are in favor of approving the minutes, if you just raise your hands. Good, all three of you, unanimous, thank you.
All right, our next item is discussion of the fall community forum. So I thought we could, actually, I might look, okay, debrief the fall forum. So, you know, what you think, oh, sorry, I skipped public comment. There's nobody here for public comment.
No, and we
All
did
right.
not receive any requests.
Okay, great. So yeah, I'd love feedback. What do we think we can do better next time? What worked? You know, how do we think that the sort of topic of technology went over? Yeah, I'll just pause there. I just space for us to debrief the forum.
So Donna wasn't there, right?
No, I
Okay.
had a conflict. So
So
no.
I think since I was the only one of the other two that was there, I think it was really successful. I think it went well. Um, I guess I'm a little selfish because I loved the fact that the QR code wasn't working because it was much more informal as opposed to formal with the whole asking ahead of time. Everyone just kind of asked their questions, and I thought that people asked questions. There wasn't a lot of repetitive questions. And I felt like we covered a lot. I thought we covered a lot of the topics that we brought up. And I felt like the board and the panel was perfect and supported the topic well.
Would you suggest not using a QR code in future?
I felt that way in most of our meetings leading up to this. I think I said it a few times because I feel like, you know, as opposed to public comment and the community, I mean, the regular.
You're muted.
Oh, Dana, you're muted.
Oops. I can't see you guys anymore, but you can see me?
We
Yeah.
can see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Board of Ed meetings, it's a very formal area. People can't get responses. I feel like what made the community forum so unique and special was that it's a place where people can just go and kind of be more informal with Jen and the panel, as opposed to feeling like, you know, you can't let anybody know what you're asking, and it's very, you know, under just not as informal and more like relaxed. Now, that being said, if there's a super sensitive topic that we're doing, that it could be people won't ask questions because they don't want to stand out that they're asking that question and they don't want to receive the backlash for asking the question or the backlash of the answer. I totally get it. But I think in something like this, where it was for the most part not a hot, sensitive topic, I just think it should be more informal.
Okay.
You know, I think people listening to the panel and the panel being so informative and bringing up so many great things and informing the group, questions kind of come up. And it just be like, hey, yeah, I got this question. Again, if it's a sensitive topic and it's a hot topic that could cause backlash or embarrassment or whatever anybody wants to say, then I totally think, yeah, have the QR code.
I mean, I would tend to agree. I think when we first started it, we weren't sure what the turnout was going to be. So we weren't quite sure how the management of everything would happen. But I would say after running 4 of these, we get about the same number of people to each of them. So at this point, I feel like it's not going to be an impossible management situation. And that was part of it, was to sort of figure out how to balance that. But I think we could probably start doing away with that. And I agree, Dana, I mean, I think it might be always nice. What I can always do is have it And we can literally, based on how many people show up or kind of the buzz, we could either pull them out or we could just leave them tucked away and do it more informally.
Yeah, I think that would be my one big suggestion. I mean, I think this is my third forum that I've been been at present for. One, I wasn't involved with the board. This is my second one I was involved with the board. I mean, I think the whole idea is great. I think the panel that, the people that you bring on for the panel, I think is great. I think it's very, I've walked away from every forum learning something that I didn't know myself. So I think they're serving a great purpose.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, I don't know, I got the impression people did not leave feeling like their questions weren't answered. So, I mean, that's my, like, that's the test, right? Like, if I did not hear from people after they, that was useless or such and such didn't answer my question, like, there was none of that. So I think that's a good sign. So I do think I was just going to say, I do think the feedback though, and maybe that doesn't have to be something that's like on every chair, but like maybe as you walk in or walk out, right, there's like, we can just have one posted somewhere, like on not a easel, but like something that can like stand upright for people to scan it on their way out, or just have it a couple places in the room for feedback. So I would say QR code for the feedback still.
Agreed.
But agree that like, yeah, I think
And so
it was great.
it's interesting because the last forum we had the QR code for feedback. We didn't get any. This time we personally emailed everybody with a link, like a short URL, like a tiny URL link. And the only person was you, Carol, testing to make sure that the link was working and nothing was broken. So I am not sure. And I think we did a really nice, I think there was a nice statement about the feedback is important. It helps us going forward. Please tell us about the other topics. And I'm just not sure if it's a matter of people don't know what they don't know, so they don't know what to say, or like, or do we, but again, they don't even open it up to complete it. I was like, could we give them like a list of like 5 and say, from these 5, pick what you think is going to be the next topic, but they don't even give us the feedback in the first place.
Right.
So
I wonder if we were to just at some point, like maybe like, I don't know, a couple months out from like spring forum, say, we'd love your ideas for possible topics, and it just go to like the school, like, I don't know, whatever the power school emails there, right? Like all the parents, and see if people will participate that way, just to like a Google form, drop in a topic, just to, I know we didn't get any feedback. We didn't get anything back, but I think this is one of those things where we don't, well, I wouldn't want anyone to come back and say, well, nobody, like, you never asked us, right? So we can say like, it's there, nobody used it, but I would say maybe we consider doing something like that.
Well, that's a good idea. I like your idea, Carol. So, putting it, I think, perhaps in each newsletter that we send out, looking for ideas, like somehow something that grabs attention. Ideas, community forum ideas. We welcome your ideas. Something fun that is a live link that is there to capture. Because sometimes people just don't remember like topics they would like to know. So and the same thing in maybe on the website in a Google form. But Jen, what do you think about we're doing maybe the new curriculum for English that the 500 pages we talked about, that might.
Well, I mean, you're going to have so many new curriculum by then.
Right,
you're going to have English, social studies, algebra 1, like it's a lot. We could definitely do a forum around curriculum. But I feel like a little bit well, I mean, and again, I don't think a forum around academics is a terrible idea, but I think it could have more of a curriculum focus. Um, I don't know if we have the resources to pull this off, but one of the things that I was thinking about, which would be a little bit different, we always do the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, our Amity alumni panel, and they come back and speak to our seniors. Um, and they basically talk about kind of their experiences, but a lot of questions that sort of go back to like, what did Amity prepare you for? What has it been like? How does it feel to be out, like, out there? What do you wish we had done better at? And I don't know if that would be of interest to our community to hear from recent graduates. They're usually like within the past like 1 to 3 years about what post Amity is like for their experience. Um, Only because I think that, and again, and maybe this applies more towards older parents, and it's not as applicable for somebody in middle school, but I don't know if our parents are so intently focused on just getting their kids through high school that I don't know if they have that long range um, anticipation
Capability.
for what it's going to be like afterwards. And I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think of something that could be helpful. Plus, it's always, we always get really positive reception from that panel, from the kids. But again, I don't know if it's just because it's a kid thing. But it would be, I always find it like fascinating, like, because again, I have my own experiences from being immediately out of high school. They're very, very old. I have my daughters, and hers are almost old, and she just graduated 2 years ago. Like I think it's just that could potentially be interesting.
So I don't want to keep going back to, I like your idea. So I don't want to keep going back to like the elementary schools, but maybe when you're talking about curriculum and curriculum alignment with the elementary schools and the transitioning parents, that maybe reaching out to those parents. I'm just brainstorming some ideas for the next forum. And I actually enjoyed hearing from the students last night, and maybe something where it's not necessarily just parents and guardians, but also students, and students who might have questions. I mean, if there's no, if we are looking for additional forum topics, and I don't know how much um, interest you'll get from the student body, or students entering Amity, and I know they get a lot of questions answered when they come, but when you're there, sometimes there's some things and resources that they may not be aware of, and opportunities and clubs, maybe even how to form a club if you get enough interest in clubs that can be formed. My understanding is there are different ways to get clubs formed too, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the debate club at the middle school spearheaded by some parents? I want to say last year, I could be wrong, because there wasn't a teacher who was available to
Yes,
take
that's
on
correct.
that role. So even knowing that can be done.
So you could do a panel, and again, I don't know the level of interest in it, that focused on like sort of not the academics, that did the arts, the athletics, the extracurriculars. And Sophia and Janet were on the last community forum. We could bring some other students on board to talk about that. We have our captain's council. We obviously have ACT kids who are like heavily invested in theater. So we could absolutely probably put together a panel that addressed that. And it could go from everything of like how you form it to benefits and things like that. But I'd have to think about it. Again, I'm not sure if we would have a rich enough number of questions coming in from the crowd. But that could definitely be a topic. The other one, I think, if you remember, when we did our board retreat, we actually talked about having a community panel to talk about what the Board of Education does and doesn't do. because there's a lot of misperceptions of what your roles and responsibilities are that I think you guys get a lot of demands of you that just don't fall under your purview. And I know we talked about that during our retreat, that just having a general Q&A on and you guys would be the panel, like it would almost be an opportunity for the board to actually interact with the crowd as opposed to going through the formal board meeting.
So how do you envision that going? What do you see that looking like?
I think when we talked about it at the retreat, and Dana, you were there, Donna, you were there too, right? I
Yes.
think we just said it would be a community panel on the I don't know if we come up with some catchy title, but literally the roles of the Board of Education versus the roles of the superintendent and administration.
Right. What we do and don't do.
Yeah.
What we can and cannot do.
And how you then sort of feedback and interact back into your own towns, because even that's different depending on which town you live in.
So do you think that like some of the, so I imagine that we wouldn't get well, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I imagine that we wouldn't get a ton of questions ahead of time. There may be people, I think people would show up for something like that because I think they're like, well, I asked the board this all the time and like there's no response, or like
nobody ever answered me, and they don't realize that my answer is really your answer.
I think it could be like a useful activity. I just wonder if much of it would be just structured by us to like ask the questions that we know, people are wondering, and open it up if there are additional things.
And the other piece of feedback that I got as we were thinking about it, because we didn't spend a whole lot of time on AI, and somebody had suggested it would be more helpful if you started with a brief presentation, because when it's something that people know so little about, they don't even know where to ask the questions.
That's true.
So if we did something more like the board superintendent one, we could literally have like a 10-minute intro that gets thought processes going. And we could try that for any topic we could make that shift. It's just,
I think that would be a really good idea, because I think a lot of times people come in and they don't have questions prepared because they're not 100% sure. And then when you drive it with the information about the topic, I think that will generate questions in people's minds.
Yeah.
And it would just it would have to be a very brief, because I don't want to talk them to death. It would have to be a very brief, like 10-minute sort of introduction.
Yep.
I like that idea. Yep.
And even if you do if we did the Board of Ed one, they would definitely need a little bit of like a presentation, because clearly a lot of them don't know what we do. I think I was asked last week if I could control the Wi-Fi in the school because it's horrible, and they wanted to redo the Wi. Can you tell them they need to redo the Wi-Fi in the school? I'm like, I'm on that.
We're very much aware of that, actually.
That would be under technology and
the infrastructure project that we always talk about.
That's funny.
Yes, we are very much aware.
Anything else? So this is great. And I have jotted down like this idea for future forums to do a brief presentation.
So I do think we need to make a decision about what to do with a transcript. So I have the one from SEL. That one's finished. I'm still, I think we need to wrap up the one from Carol. What did you do? What was the topic?
Spring for May.
What was that topic? I can't even remember.
Oh my God, that was, I transcribed that one.
It was
too.
like the AP classes.
It was dual enrollment and unlevel. That's right. And then,
Yeah, I'm leveling. Yep.
and then Kathy did take notes, but they're very, very rough. And so I almost need to have a copy of the questions you asked that I can then try to figure out which of Kathy's notes went with the questions. But I do think we have to come up with a better strategy. If we want to do this, we need a better strategy because it's not working. Each time we've tried it, it hasn't worked well. And or we just say, hey, if you didn't show up, you don't get these answers. We don't have
That's my vote.
transcripts. It doesn't live here. You have
That's
to
my
come in
vote.
person.
That's my vote. And I'm not being insensitive to people that can't come. I get it. Babysitting, I get it. Jobs. I know we all live the life that we're living. But if you can make it, it's a great opportunity. If you can't make it, you can always tap into people and ask, or you can ask. I mean, people can ask you questions all the time. I don't know. That's how I feel. I think it's very
Yeah.
cumbersome. I think it's cumbersome. And I think the way that we've done it, it's so hard to get down what people are saying, know what the question that was asked. Don't take too much, but just take it. It's just a lot. It's bulky.
Yeah.
Can we use AI to transcribe?
So we can't because again, it's going to be recording, but it did occur to me because Kathy has like these very bulleted lists. So I was trying to think of how to do this with AI. So if we had a document with the preloaded questions and the person who was note taking wasn't trying to write, they were just jotting down bullet points. I could then dump all of that into AI and say, create a Q&A document using these questions and these bulleted notes. And it would probably do a reasonable job getting started, and we would just have to check it. So it wouldn't be as if you were actually trying to transcribe in the meeting and capture it perfectly. It would probably be a little bit easier to do.
So that will probably work for like the questions because I just have them in a Word document and Kathy's like notes. I'm sure AI will connect the dots in a decent way that we can sort of tweak.
It won't capture like a live question, right?
Oh, just a pre-submitted.
Right. Which is probably fine. That's enough. If you couldn't, I mean, it's better than it's.
I think that's plenty. I think that's plenty
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd love to see how many people actually go and check on that and look at the responses, because I bet you it's probably not that many.
Well,
But you
now that we
might
have a
get more.
webmaster, we have metrics, so I would be able to put them up and tell you, and we could decide if it's worthwhile.
Perfect.
Oh, that would be great.
Perfect.
Right. How many people open it? Well, so I can actually see how transcribing the board's roles and responsibilities versus the superintendent as a very good resource in documents. If we move forward with that forum topic, and then also if you did the more student oriented forum, like around how things work, in clubs and resources, you know, that might also get some more visits. Don't know until, the best way to do it is to look at the data and see how many clicks you're getting.
Well, what we can do is if we can get, even if we can get Carol, if you can get me the last one that you had, and I have Jenny's, I can get two of them up there. Then I can worry about, if you send me the questions, I can use Kathy's notes to see if I can't create this third one within the next couple of weeks. And then we have 3 months to look at how many times somebody even clicks on the link to the board community forum. And
so I'm sorry.
Go for it.
No, I was going to say how many people showed up at this forum?
I don't have the exact number. I gave the list of emails to my admin assistant so she could send out the responses. I would say that non-board members, it was probably about 20 people on Kathy's list.
I was thinking about 25 people total because not everyone got to Kathleen's list, but
Right. And there were some
about 20
students
to
who I don't think
25
signed
people.
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, which I think
And
is sort of the max we've gotten to date. Like, yeah, maybe the SEL one. No, the SEL one wasn't well attended, but yeah, I would say about 25 people maybe.
Yeah, I think our first one, the academics one, was probably our biggest,
Yeah, it was.
but it was also sort of
I like
our
the idea.
broadest topic.
Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of like having a forum focused on like the other A's. I think there are a lot of parents who don't know about like all the like athletic clubs or opportunities, even clubs that they may encourage their students to like participate in, but they just don't know. Um, so I think I don't know if it's something that is like a standalone topic. I'd have to think a little bit more about that, but
I
yeah, I think
mean,
that
we
would be
could do something like that and combine it maybe with the idea of like the perception that kids have to have this like huge resume to get into college. Because, right, that's why we have all these things. And I think that's what drives some of this. And I think Jill could probably lend some perspective to what is like a reason, like what are colleges looking for when they look at the resume? And do they really want to see you were president of 25 clubs and a 17-time varsity athlete, um, but never stuck with anything for more than 6 months, or do like it, we could maybe weave those two together, and that would probably give us an opportunity to talk about the other A's, but also kind of the part
yeah.
that drives the other A's.
I also would add a little component to that with there's a lot of people that don't know some of the electives that Amity offers that are just
Yeah.
so not like I'm still amazed from the tour that there's a full auto mechanic shop in a school. Like I think that would be a really good thing to add to it because
Yeah.
did I lose you guys? I think that there's just I've said to people that they don't even realize that you can take like the amount of construction classes that you can take at Amity. So I think some type of elective information piece could go in there and it would do well.
Okay, and that would tie together really well. It's sort of like I said, everything that's kind of not academic, that is pretty much the other half of the kid's day.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that. Yeah.
so,
And
yes, I think I like that idea. I completely support that. That would be very helpful. I think even Jen, to your point of, what it takes to get into college, so parents can get a really good idea as to what you're looking for. I mean, some colleges want, language requirements. And they say 2 to 4 years, and they would prefer to have 4 years in the same language, or, but you can switch. There are things that will still make you an attractive candidate for colleges. So I actually like your idea about, getting into college and what you really need.
So, well, and we have a lot of those specifically geared either junior year, senior year, but I'm thinking more of all the other stuff that kids like outside of the academics that kids do to try to get into the universities of their choice.
Right, more well-rounded versus being involved, into your point, like 20 clubs. Do you really
Yeah.
need to be involved in 20 clubs? I mean, there has to be a point where is it really, is it
Possible?
sustainable? Is it sustainable to
Or
be
meaningful.
right?
Yeah.
Is it
Meaningful engagement.
meaningful? is it sustainable? Is it, you know, finding something that is a unique interest that you have in developing that instead of spreading yourself so thin that because just understanding what colleges are looking for and what other kids are doing, and just because, you know, someone else is involved in, you know, 15, 20 clubs, and you may be, you know, have been involved in robotics, but you know, you started in robotics in sixth grade, and you were part of Yale Pathways, and you started your own robotics club, and you know, versus being spread so thin.
I think it would also be nice to talk about how this ties into like even like post high school jobs, like, well, you know, appearing like well-rounded, right? For job applications, like presenting your resume. If you're, you know, going into the workforce after high school, I think it could also be important to, you know, for that too.
And maybe that could tie into the alumni, Jen,
Yeah,
because when you talk to alumni and the reality of, you know, what you thought the application process was, and then how many times you may or may not change your major, and it's okay to not know exactly what you want to do at the age of 17, 18 years old, do not maybe have so much pressure. There's pressure. You don't need to add some more to it. There's plenty of pressure. So maybe those could be, maybe that's a really good fall topic too.
Well, or so I'm
talk about it, think about it.
Yeah, and well, if we were willing to piggyback, so we always do the alumni panel the Wednesday before Thanksgiving because the kids are home from college. So I could reach out to Jill and see if see what other options we would have to have the students available to talk to parents. And so it could be a fall topic that we sort of piggyback with when we bring them in to begin with in the first place to talk to our kids.
Right, because when are they usually home? They're usually, you
Right.
know, you're not going to get them. You're not going to get them at spring break.
Right. So, but yeah, but if you started with sort of the everything but academics, and resumes could lead nicely as a pre-launch to an alumni panel the next time.
I think that would be great.
Okay. We have a lot of ideas, and like we'll solicit and see what other people say. But these are the things like I think people wouldn't even know what to write down because I just think they don't know.
Yeah, no, it's hard to have questions about something you don't know a lot about. So, all right. Any final thoughts before I want to make sure we make time for a discussion about the next chair's newsletter?
No, I think we have some really good topics and ideas.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's good that we have them from now. It's beginning of December. So that's good. All right, so we will move along in our agenda. The next item is the chair's newsletter.
Yeah, so I'll be working off of the November superintendent's report. So I think the first thing that I'll probably put in is going to be just a summary of that budget presentation, just so people know where we're starting out. We typically have done that this time of the year, just as a sort of reminder that we're working on the budget. I am looking at what we just published. I think the dual credit enrollment update to have 210 kids enrolled in 12 classes compared to what we had last year is probably a significant achievement. So we'll, I think probably writing something about that would be helpful. I know we had the election as like sort of a focus, but it seems like old news to publish that information. So I think unless you guys think it's important to include to kind of close it up. I don't know that that's relevant.
Maybe more about the kids' participation, because I had a lot of kids talk about it. Like
Okay.
a lot of kids talked about it, and I was impressed that I didn't think a lot of kids would get involved, and I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. And there was a lot of, I heard a lot of people talking about their kids voted or their kids knew about it and their kids went down and checked it out. So I don't know,
Okay.
maybe just something like there was a good turnout for
Yep.
the kids'
And
involvement in the election.
both in terms of the kids who run it and the kids who end up
Right,
participating in it.
right. Because I just
Yeah.
think, regardless of the outcome and regardless of who everybody voted for, it's just nice to see that something like that is getting traction in the schools.
Yep. I think I will do something about Trades Week because again, it's one of our major weeks where we focus on something other than post secondary college options for kids. Um, and it's also a nice plug for us because we always want more people from the trades coming to the school. So if I put that out, that
Okay.
might be helpful.
Yeah.
Then the only other one, I'm going to do a little something about Holiday Bear because our teachers union is the largest donor of the Holiday Bear project in the area. So I think we supported 46 families this year or 46 students. And I don't know that people recognize that or the amount of work that our teacher of the year does to organize that. And then it's just sort of a nice holiday thing. And then the only other thing, and I have to check with Ernie, is we always recognize kids for our academics, but we did have signing day on November 13th, and we had
Oh, yeah.
a bunch of kids signed to divisional collegiate athletics. I just don't want to start it and then miss kids going forward. So I just need to touch base with Ernie to see if like we have others that will have to be recognized on an ongoing basis and how we might possibly do that.
Okay. Yeah, I think
Um,
that would be a good idea.
And so those are sort of my ideas, just looking at things, but I don't know if there's anything else. Shannon already had her own independent press release, so I don't have to do anything with that. Um, so there really wasn't anything else, and I haven't even done the superintendent's report for December, even though it's next Monday. So that'll just have to wait until January.
So Jen, was the Holiday Bears also part of I can't remember what it was, the email that parents received about donating? I was
I don't know. So they
okay.
do it all in a bunch of different ways. So like we were
Okay.
in a Amity Advocates class, and the class, because of who they are and it's Amity Advocates, decided to adopt a child. And so and I do think teams sometimes do it, but I always thought it was more of a teacher-led thing, but maybe not.
I'll have to go back and look through my emails. It was around it was before Thanksgiving.
So I mean, they do food drives, they do construction, they do the cereal box
I know it was a
domino thing.
monetary donation.
So they're doing like a pajama thing for St. Jude's. I think that's this Friday. That's a monetary donation. So I have no idea. Holiday Bear, typically you adopt a family, well, you're given a child and then you purchase items for the child. So
Right.
that one is not
I have to go look, but
monetary.
I think it was families who were donating, and then I'm not sure how it was logistically followed through the school, but okay, we donated. So I'm not sure what
Yeah,
it was.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
We have a
what
lot of donation things at this time of the year,
Right.
so
Okay.
keeping up with all of them.
I was trying to keep that out of the conversation, but okay, so we made a donation, but I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at my email as to what it was for exactly.
I think it's good to highlight those things, right? Especially this time of year. Like people love to see that, like our district, like our teachers or whoever, right? Their students, teachers are like, engaged with our community and meeting needs and volunteering and donating.
Right. I think any way, I agree. Any way that we can say that the community has supported donations and what we've raised, whether it's the teachers or the community or however support has been given. That would be great to highlight all of the different programs.
Jen, are there like academic accolades that can be included? I don't know when the timing of like different tests or recognition of well, we already did merit scholars, right?
we've already done national merit, and then we kind of don't really have anything again until we start doing some of our like CAPS and CAS students.
Okay.
The national merit finalists, we don't usually find out until the springtime. So yeah, and for right now, like a lot of times, like we'll start having like, kids from like the science competitions, but it's still too early. We're sort of in the lull, like
Yeah.
everybody's working, but nobody's like doing the final sort of tasks.
So I wonder if including something that is related to our budget, right? I can't recall like all the exact like new things or things that like we need deeper investment in. Something student related to that, something students are currently doing, or like to just sort of highlight like here's why, right? Like kind of ahead of time. So I don't know. I can't think of what that is, but like if there's any way we can sort of connect those two or highlight like something, whether a class is doing or club.
And it's funny because this budget has so few staff requests. I mean, it's pretty much just operational expenses because of inflation and contracts. We add literally we have a part-time math teacher and the teacher of English language learners. And that's it for staff. It doesn't even like last year we could have like really like pumped up the financial literacy, but we're good there. Like we sort of like have kind of reached a nice level of staffing and programming.
Or maybe we highlight someone like if we like hired a new person or someone's in a new role this year, like, I don't know across the district you do anything like spotlighting for a particular program department, or like the interventionist, like how they're working, like something like that where people are like, oh, this is great. Like, they get to see the students they love, or like a brief story from them. Not as like I say story, but nothing long, but like, how they love sort of like working, how rewarding it is, right? To be an interventionist and like work with the students or something like that.
There's also curriculum,
and
Carol.
So that's unrelated to like this year's budget, but
Oh, you cut out,
What'd
so
you say,
I thought
Dawn?
I couldn't hear you. There's also curriculum. So we have Shannon Carlson coming on. We can highlight her as well. And then all of
Well, we already did that though. She already got a press release.
Right,
so
but
it wouldn't
that's
be
a
in
press
Paul's
release.
board chair.
That's a press release.
Wow.
But what if we talk about what it is she's going to be doing as the assistant superintendent? People know we have an assistant superintendent. They don't necessarily know everything the assistant superintendent does, and all the curriculum work that has been happening behind the scenes. We're going to have a big meeting, and even highlighting that, maybe you will get a lot of interest when we have this presentation in February. You could say, be on the lookout. We're going to have a presentation in February, and that might even spark something if we choose to move forward with a community forum about curriculum changes and highlights. I don't know, just brainstorming. Maybe you don't like the idea, and that's fine.
No, I'm just trying to think of how
stop. I have a hard stop, unfortunately, at 6:25. I have to leave to go pick up somebody. So I I don't want to, if I just cut out, that's me just doing what I
Okay.
need to do.
Thanks, Dana.
Well, honestly, once she leaves, we will not have a quorum, so we probably ought to just, we have 2 minutes or 1 minute and make sure that
Wrap up.
we're good to go.
Yeah. Oh, and my battery's running low, so look, all the signs.
All the
Like,
signs are pointing to
happening.
concluding the meeting.
Yeah, so I mean, Jen, it sounds like do you have enough, or would you like us to like send you any additional
No, I
like
think I
ideas
have
that we
enough. They
have?
don't really like us to have more than like about a page and a half to maybe 2 pages. So I'll try to
Okay.
incorporate the ideas and keep it within reason.
The limit. Okay. All right. Anything else? Anything for next meeting before I close?
No, when is our next
And if
meeting?
you do, you can send them to me or Jen before the next meeting.
So the next meeting should be on, nope, that's February. Hang on, January 14th.
14th?
Yep, and if she's ready, Catherine Catmuskell from Guard Hill will come and talk about a potential communications plan for board members around the budget from April until the referendum.
Okay.
That actually sounds like a very good agenda item.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, she's working on a plan for me first because I have to start earlier. And if she's ready, she'll come in January. If not, she'll come in February.
Okay,
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
All right.
thank you.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
everybody. I'll
Thanks.
bring the meeting to a close at 6:25.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.